We got a rough combination of things going on with this panel box. Check it out. Federal Pacific Electric panel. These things are no longer manufactured. This company lost their UL. They are known for being fire starters. And to top it off, we have aluminum wiring. Aluminum wiring inside of a Federal Pacific Electric panel. This is not a good combination. It's not that aluminum wiring is bad, but the connection points can be problematic if they are not handled properly. And the problem really is that this panel box itself is known to be a hazard. Really, this needs to be looked at and evaluated by an electrician. Although there are a couple of problems that I'm going to point out in this situation really needs to be looked at by an electrician and probably switched out to another panel. I mean, even better rewiring, but as long as these aluminum connections are taken care of properly by a licensed electrician, then it should be good, but this panel box has to go. Now, I don't usually do this, but in the case of us having aluminum wiring, I always try to check some outlets and switches to make sure that the outlets and switches are rated for aluminum or that we don't have improper pigtail connections. And look what we have here. To make matters worse, you can see copper wire here, but if you look back in the back, we can see an aluminum ground wire back over there too. So that means inside these red caps, we have aluminum wiring being pigtailed to copper wiring, and that is not the proper connector to connect those two materials. I'm on a bit of an older house and we got a couple of issues up here on the roof that I want to show you. Check it out. This isn't a problem yet because the branches are not actually touching the roof, but we're not too far off from that happening. And so this really needs to get trimmed back so that you don't have these branches sway and tear up your shingles or branches fall off and damage your roof. So that definitely should happen. That's something that we could do to prevent things. This isn't an immediate problem. First of all, I have a saying, it's a gutter, not a garden, but more importantly is all this debris sitting here. This is harboring moisture, pests. This creates an entry point for pests in your house, but an entry point for moisture to get up underneath the shingles and start doing some damage to what's underneath the shingles. Not a good situation. We have that going on in several spots around this older roof. This is a bit of a new one. I mean, don't get me wrong, I come across missing siding from time to time. This house is from 2021, so it's a couple years old. And we have this. A couple of pieces of missing siding and trim right here, but we have some soaked thermoply sheathing, and check it out. Perfect entry right into the attic space. At first I thought, okay, well maybe it just got damaged, you know, maybe by an animal, maybe the siding was loose and maybe an animal damaged it or something like that. Then I came over here to this side, check it out. Other side of the entryway, the exact same situation. This isn't exactly home inspection related. I mean, maybe kind of, but check this out. If you ever wanted to know why you don't put particle board outside or near a water source, this is why. Because it becomes a sponge. Look at this. This is some type of particle board shelf. Obviously, this has nothing to do with the home inspection, nothing to do with the structure of the home, but this is why you don't use particle board outside or near any water source. This is what it will become. We got some water supply lines running through the attic here. They're all insulated. Got some little tiny gaps in them. I'm not too worried about those little tiny gaps. But you can see they're all insulated nice until you get over here where the insulation starts, and then usually they'll bury it in the insulation, only they didn't. They just ran the main water line right out. They insulated it back over there, you can see, but then they stopped and there's this wide open section. Yeah, that's not good. That will freeze. Now, that being a PEX water line, I'm less concerned about freeze damage and more concerned about the homeowner experiencing a lack of water flow due to freezing. Either way, a display of carelessness. Sometimes you don't need to be a roofing contractor to notice when you might have roofing problems. Shingles laying on the ground? Better get up and check it out. Yep, missing shingles. Well, I guess they're not so much missing, they're just laying on the ground. All right, hear me out on this one. Here's a situation I find on a lot of homes. You can see whenever I lock the deadbolt here, it doesn't appear to fully lock into place. Whenever I open the door and lock it, you can see the latch fully extends and you cannot push it back in. However, whenever I get in the position that it was whenever the door was closed, you can see it easily pushes back in. And when I close the door, no matter how hard I try, I cannot put it in the fully extended position. Let me show you another example and then take it a step further. You can see this deadbolt here doesn't seem to fully engage. When I open the door, I can fully extend the deadbolts and you cannot push it in no matter how hard you try. However, when I get it in the position that it was whenever the door was open, it pushes right in. Okay, so now let's close the door, and let me show you when I get my pocket knife here how easy it is with the door closed and locked for me to unlock that latch. Now, why is this happening? It's because they do not take the time to drill out the latch properly so the deadbolt can fully engage. I'm on the roof of a new construction house, and behind me is a furnace flue. It's made out of galvanized metal, and as you can see, it has been painted. And if you look closely, it's not just spray painted or anything, they actually brush painted. So they took a can of paint up here and a paintbrush and painted it by hand. People always get so upset with me when I talk about all this galvanized metal that needs to be painted on a roof. And what I've learned is that it's a regional thing. We paint ours here. You can see all of this metal on all of these roofs has been painted, all except for maybe the top of this furnace. So every once in a while they don't paint the top of them. Now the one that I was just looking at actually has the top of it painted, but sometimes they don't paint the top. I'm not exactly sure why, but as you can see, all of this metal is painted, and it is to keep it from rusting, because even though it's galvanized metal, eventually if not painted, it will rust. Now this is an unfinished house, but you can see all the unpainted flashings and whatnot on top of this roof, and to me, that's just not a good look. So while in other parts of the country we may not be painting this metal, around here we do. And you might think that's silly, but I've seen a lot of these things rusted, and I've seen this galvanized metal rust after only a few years, so I think it's a good idea to paint it before it gets rusted and keep up with that. And by keep up with that, I mean you should have your roof inspected every couple of years, maybe I say every 4 to 6 years, depending, more frequently if you can afford it, and that stuff can be repainted and resealed at that time. Here we go again, another new construction sub panel. So overall, the box is pretty messy, and while I'm not thrilled about that, that's not really my main problem. I don't really understand why these conductors right here are running on the outside of the service conductor. That doesn't make any sense. Everything else is tucked, although not neatly, tucked back in the box. This is on the outside of that, so I'm not thrilled with that. Also, this wire right here, this white wire needs to be relabeled with black tape. But what I really have a problem with is we went out of our way in this sub panel to separate the grounds and neutrals by putting the grounds on their own bus bar. Then why do we go out of our way again to make sure to combine them by putting this ground up here right with this neutral? That doesn't make any sense. That needs to be corrected. Ground wires and neutral wires are not to be combined inside of a sub panel. So there's a few things that are going on in this area and a few problems. And the first being that moisture comes down this area of roof, and the siding material is too close to the roofing material, which means that moisture coming down the roof line will wick back up into the siding via capillary action, which starts to chip away. And as you can see, it's happened in some areas. The water gets behind the siding and starts to chip away the outer layers. And then as it gets a little bit soft in those areas, it makes it easy for critters to come through here and scratch their way and make a bigger hole where they can get in. And now we just have a larger opening where not only vermin, but moisture can get in the house as well. Another thing that we're missing here is kick-out flashing. Where the roof comes down and meets the wall and the wall continues, we need a piece of flashing here to direct water away from the side wall here. And you can see we have metal flashing here, but it doesn't push water away. So essentially what can happen is water can get down in this area and start to cause some damage over in these areas, possibly get in the structure and cause some more damage to the siding in this area. It's cold. I'm on a roof. Check something out. Improperly sloped gutters. How do I know? Because there is water standing on this side, but there is not water standing over here where the downspout is. Gutters should be properly sloped so that water goes towards the downspout and away from the structure. It should not collect up here by the house like this. Over there is where we had that issue. This is the gutter on the front of the house, and as you can see, perfectly dry all the way down to the downspout. So this one over here is properly sloped. I can see the neighbors from here though. Check this out. Dry over here where the downspout is, water back over there.